All right, y'all. Again, Donovan Mitchell has been dominating the offseason headlines, Summer League aside. And of course, now the Knicks have become kind of the front runner in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes in terms of a potential trade package. You know, it's kind of no surprise the names that are involved in terms of Quickly, Reddish, Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes. And the amount of draft compensation is going to be pretty hefty, it seems, especially after the Rudy Gobert trade. Did a whole video about how that pretty much ruined the entire trade market from a standpoint now going forward with potential Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant trades. That whole thing aside, I hate to break it to you. I know the Knicks have long awaited to have maybe a star in town. They had the cool Cinderella story 2 years ago, Julius Randle making All-NBA, and obviously now very disappointing past season. They basically moved mountains to then sign Jalen Brunson to be their starting point guard, despite already having Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickly on the roster. And so that move, also with their current roster, and also did a video on the Knicks talking about how they basically have two generational lineups here, where you have like a 30-year-old lineup and like early 20s lineup. And so basically they're going to sacrifice that early 20s lineup to bring in Donovan Mitchell on top of basically probably 4 to 5 draft picks. And I'm here to tell you this is not the right direction for the New York Knicks. If I'm picking a lineup, I'm picking the early 20s. I'm developing. This is not the time to compete for an Eastern Conference title. I don't think Donovan Mitchell even launches you into that conversation. I understand a Brunson, Mitchell, Fournier, Randall, Robinson type look is fine. It's not going to compete with the Bucks, the Celtics, the Heat, the Sixers. Maybe, who knows after that. Sorry, just controller died. Trying to think of another team that could probably beat that Knicks team. You look at the Hawks now with DeJounte Murray. It's not going to happen for the Knicks. This whole move, you're selling the farm for a guy who might get you a 6 seed, maybe consistently, who you might be, excited about. You might sell seats, but I think it's the pretty much worst time to make a deal for a star right now after Gobert. Obviously, the Knicks have a lot of young assets. I think you hold on to them. I think you keep your picks. They have 3 next year, and I think you move Julius Randle, you move Evan Fournier, and try and get more draft capital out of it. You try and get out of those long-term contracts. And, Brunson is in his mid-20s. He's not necessarily outside the realm of a rebuild. I understand they signed him probably with the intention to compete. But, you look at Brunson quickly. You play Reddish. You play Toppin. You play Robinson. That's a pretty complete lineup that all, relatively young with still a lot of upside. Haven't even mentioned R.J. Barrett, of course. Who knows what his ceiling is. He's kind of hard to pin down in terms of trade value. It doesn't look like the Jazz are expecting the Knicks to include him in this deal. So why not field that? Why not go, Brunson, Barrett, Reddish, Toppin, Robinson, and then have Quickly come off the bench as kind of your, firecracker, flamethrower as a 6th man. I think that is a team that, will compete, will play hard, and develop as you get, more picks coming in, especially with 3 next season, and try and build something as opposed to giving all those assets away for Donovan Mitchell, who, is a good scorer, decent shot creator, can be okay defender when he wants to be. But I just don't see the fit. Maybe he'll come in happier. Obviously, it didn't seem like he ended on great terms with Utah last season. But still, I think that's a lot of personality. Julius Randle, who knows what his mindset is going to be coming into next year. Um, I don't know. I think it doesn't make a ton of sense for the Knicks here to just kind of compete. I mean, maybe, and maybe as a Knicks fan, listen, they made the playoffs 2 years ago. It's not like they've had like the longest playoff drought in NBA history. And so there shouldn't be this pressure to make the big splash, um, and try and basically sacrifice all the young talent that you have. That's the general thing for me. And I think if you're a Knicks fan, you have to ask yourself how much you're willing to give up for Donovan Mitchell, and what are your expectations if they do in fact acquire him. Because if your expectations are anything other than a first or second round exit in the playoffs, then you are vastly overestimating what this Knicks roster can do. Because they're not going to have any depth. They already traded away, Nerlens, who fair enough got hurt a lot, but Alec Burks, decent piece in terms of depth. Not sure what the rest of that roster is going to look like in terms of outside that kind of starting five. So I would be really cautious here in terms of what the Knicks are looking at and what they're willing to give up. And, Mitchell's under contract for 4 years, something like that. So really, Danny Ainge in this situation has all the leverage. You can already say I got 4 picks, technically 5 for Rudy Gobert. I'm going to need the same kind of deal with Mitchell plus, some young assets. And so if I'm the Knicks, I'm waiting him out. Like, Donovan Mitchell's not going anywhere. It doesn't look like anyone else has entered this conversation as trying to, one-up the Knicks. Like, who are they bidding against right now? I would wait at least a year, see what I have with my young guys, and then maybe when the trade market kind of returns to some sense of normalcy, we kind of lose the whole Rudy Gobert thing. That becomes less of an issue. Then maybe we can revisit these talks. But I am strongly against the idea of the Knicks giving up all those picks and assets for Donovan Mitchell. But feel free to disagree. Feel free to argue that, do whatever it takes to bring a star to New York. Love to hear it. And that's it for me for now. But take care of yourselves. Take it easy. And I'll see you next time.